Yeah, here we are Monday morning. This is From A to B, presented by Osmo.com. I'm Andrew. That's the A part, and I have Ben with me. That's the B part. Man, what a Sunday, huh?
Yeah. Certainly a memorable one for the wrong reasons. Well, we're obviously going to get all into it. I will say, I'm trying not to harp on it because my week was good and it ended so poorly, but I'm trying to say, it's still not a bad thing. It's all little pluses and minuses, but we will talk about NFL. Some mistakes were made.
I think that might be the worst NFL day I've ever had. I've lost more money on a day before, but I'd had more in play. Because I played quite a bit of volume and lost 88% of what I put in on multiple slates. Friend of the show, guy we know from Slack, A Raven had a great tweet about lowering his tax bracket yesterday. I feel that I owe the government several thousand less dollars now, so I guess that's nice.
Also, friend of the show, of course, better news. Ponta.
Oh God, yeah.
Should have won the Wildcat. Came in second. Big score. Very cool. So It wasn't all bad. So that was awesome.
Right. I'm an idiot. That was selfish of me. Ponta, one of our good friends, he's been on a tear lately. Poor guy comes in second every time. Not that the poor guy, but he's cleared $200,000 in second places.
Bridesmaid,
month and a half. But yeah, because the Galladay, did you see the catch at the end where they?
No. I had given up. I was watching Succession at that point. I did not watch the late games.
I did because I spam entered a bunch of game lineups because it was funny. I feel like I talked on the show last week about how I don't really do that. 100% did that last week.
It happened.
Yeah, it does. It was ugly. But yeah, I was watching it. I had a ton of Galladay. I had Galladay in cash. I was really hoping to pull out a miracle. I didn't have a great chance. I literally just universal swapped TJ Yeldon to Demaryius Thomas in cash because I was from so far behind. I didn't even bother to go through the head-to-heads and see who had me dominated or not. It was just I need something crazy to happen, so I'm just going to do this. But yeah, I was watching. So at one of the very last plays of the game, the Lions were driving. Galladay appeared to have maybe caught the ball. I forget whether they called it incomplete or complete on the field. But it was whatever. It was a catch. Ponta lost by half a point or something like that. And it was a catch 12 yards down the field. And then it went into review, and the announcers were kind of making it sound like they thought it was going to be a catch. I don't think anyone really knows what a catch is anymore because now it's hey, do the dudes in the bar think it's a catch? It's there's no rules anymore. So you have no idea what's going to end up happening. They ended up not calling it a catch, and he would have won otherwise. But sick run.
Yeah. No, it was it's just one of those days. We're going to dive into it. What's up? We got a couple people in chat. Hello, everyone. What's going on? What horse is over my left shoulder? We got Skip Away in the red slacks. We got Zenyatta. Yeah, Zenyatta in, her normal light blue slacks. And then we got a Snowy Owl, which is not a horse.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
That's true. Big animal fan, my co-host is, so.
Sort of.
He'll tell you the difference between snowy owls and horses anytime you want.
Do we want to get into, do we want to go college first, which was lovely, or do we want to just dive right into the NFL, which was
I still think the NFL is a larger audience, so let's talk NFL.
It is. All right. Well, so let's see where to begin. I'll say this. No matter whether it's a good week or a bad week, I go back, I look at my lineups, I look at a lot of other sharp people's lineups. And, as this show develops, we're definitely going to do more screen sharing where we're breaking down some of the things that we've done, some other people's, and talk about it. So what happened with me, it was kind of bizarre. The quarterbacks that I really liked, Alex Smith was just a disaster. So you could throw him out, but I had a good amount of Matt Ryan, of Cam Newton, and of Big Ben. And the problem was, out of those guys, that's 11 touchdowns they combined for. Antonio Brown, Julio, Sanu, Christian McCaffrey, and Funchess combined for 0 touchdowns. And they were the guys that I had paired up, whether it was, I had used Matt Ryan to Julio and ran it back with Christian McCaffrey. I used Cam and Christian McCaffrey, ran it with Julio. I just could not connect on the point. So my quarterbacks weren't that far behind Mahomes, but my skill position, I got killed. I was almost 100% Antonio Brown. I know he's a little banged up with whatever he is. I don't think that was overly important. He had a bad game.
He didn't. He was open.
Yeah, Big Ben missed him on a lot of throws. A lot. That's fair.
Ben could hit Schuster, but he couldn't hit Antonio. Tony was frustrated. You could see it.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it was frustrating to see. So it was weird. I mean, it felt like some good, Christian McCaffrey was great. He just couldn't find the end zone. And again, the Julios of the world were, you got to get in the end zone. That's really the key. But then that was the part where I'm pretty happy with what I did. I made some real mistakes with some of my punts, not just Kittle, who I jammed in and it was tough to get away there. I looked at he was on the field for more snaps than I honestly thought he would be. So I kind of want to live with that. Barely saw targets. Garoppolo missed him a couple times. I had some other ones, though, that were meh. And then my defenses were really bad. Whether you want to go Texans, Steelers.
Everyone's kind of were, so it didn't but
No, that's true. There weren't many even remote, especially obvious ones that got there. I think the Rams were probably your best bet. Mm-hmm. So, yeah, I mean, it just added up to, and we've talked about this on the show before, in the spots that I got right, it was not with a low-owned guy, so I was kind of just with the pack, and then I was left behind because of various punts that did not get there or low-owned plays that did not get there.
Yeah, that 100% with you. Yeah, all the plays I had that really went off were, a lot of McCaffrey, I barely played Mahomes. I don't think I did play Mahomes. I think I had 0. We can talk. That's going to be a topic of discussion any second here. But I played a lot of quarterbacks. I played a ton of Matt Stafford, who was only 4% owned. I thought that was a really good bounce back spot for him. I watched that game last week. I thought he looked good moving the ball against the Giants. Just made some terrible mistakes. He looked fine yesterday. Threw for over 300 yards and 3 scores, and was like the 8th highest scoring quarterback. It was
so many got there. Like Cousins, who wasn't even. There was low key guys making monster days out there at quarterback. That wasn't the problem. Mahomes was not the problem for me, even though I faded him. That didn't make the difference for me.
No, well, because we talked about this on Thursday a little too, and Tyreek kind of bailed himself out at the end with that touchdown, but he was pretty bad. And that's what I was saying. Pittsburgh does bottle up the Tyreek type plays, and I think we were both on a pivot to Kelsey, who went nuts. So that was nice, but I don't know. It was just really hard. Yeah, I had a lot of Matt Ryan, but obviously I stacked that mostly with Julio. With you there, that was tough. I didn't really play a ton of Cam. I had a lot of McCaffrey as a one-off, but didn't really get to Gordon. And then I think maybe I need to get over this, but I've had Kirk Cousins is not a very good real-life quarterback, but man, is he good at fantasy sometimes. I need to get over that, I think. He played – I watched some of that game too, and he was not good. He really wasn't. He just makes the occasional unbelievable throw. He's got 2 amazing wide receivers there. But man, he makes them. He's I don't think he's any better than Matt Stafford is. I think he's probably. I like Stafford better personally. I think Stafford makes less bad throws, if that makes sense. Even though we saw Stafford go really poorly last week, but the catching overtime really helped them. And Thielen and Diggs are amazing.
Yeah, that's true. There are some guys like that. It was just weird. It was a combination of guys not getting there and bad plays. And when you mix that all together, you're going to get that. Now, and this part is, again, we talk about on the show, especially I do, personal preference. I made my lineups and I kept it pretty tight in terms of a core. So I knew that if I had some problems, and I did, I was going to lose basically 100%, and I did almost. That's what I get. There's no getting around that. It's just risk tolerance. I could have spread it a little wider, and I probably would have mitigated some of the damage, but I felt pretty confident in the guys that I really loaded up on, starting with Antonio Brown. So when you do that, you just have to be aware that the risk is immense if there's a problem in that really tight section of your lineups.
Yeah, that is definitely true. Because we, again, avoided, Kamara ended up not being a very good play yesterday. Avoided that. Landry was not a very good play. I had him in cash, but other than that, avoided it.
Connor didn't kill me, and I didn't have any in tournaments. That was not the problem.
I loaded up on Connor, and that wasn't a problem either. Connor was just kind of a neutral play.
Yep. Which I was willing to live with. I certainly didn't get an advantage by fading him, but I didn't get left behind either. It was just not that he was playing great, but Shady got hurt. That did not help. Could have used those extra points that he probably would have gotten. And then, this is a guy, we're going to dive into Mahomes, but David Johnson, I'm not just giving up yet, but my God, that was pretty bad.
Yeah, I would have been maybe even more tilted had the earlier stuff gone well for me, because I did play, I don't know, 30% David Johnson or something like that. And when he was 2% owned, it was like, wow, this is amazing. We saw what happened last week with Oakland, where against the Rams, the only thing they were able to do was kind of work, at the middle of the field and the short flat, which, man, people were talking about Ricky Seals-Jones because of what stupid Jared Cook did, but Larry Fitzgerald's their tight end, essentially, and then they have David Johnson to catch other short roads. David Johnson got 2 targets in that game. I'm with you. I'm there on pushing the panic button. I think I might have spoken too soon about the Cardinals not being the worst team last week. They might just be. If Bradford's cooked, then they're done. My argument was more that listen, in his career when he's been healthy, Bradford's actually been pretty effective. His knees might be gone, in which case he was not effective anymore. And I don't know.
They don't look good right now, but yeah, no. I was with you. And that's where I was alluding to earlier. When you have a guy like that at 2%, you know that it's going to be pretty defining. If he goes nuclear, I can make up a ton of ground. It's not just like a guy who's super popular where if you're behind teams, you're already blocked.
Yeah.
And he did not do anything of value. And that is how I attacked. That game set me back in multiple ways because I'm with you. We saw how the Raiders attack. So I like David Johnson. I did use some Ricky Seals-Jones when I needed some relief. And then in other teams, and this was just a stupid mistake, I got jammed and I needed a really cheap running back. And I went to Jalen Richard thinking that the Broncos should get out to a similar game script. And that is not what happened in that game. He was non-existent because he did not see the targets. And that's because Marshawn Lynch was able to basically stay in the game due to the Raiders being in the game. That hurt. Demaryius Thomas was bad as well. Don't really know what happened there, to be honest. He did not produce.
Yeah, that was not good. He got hurt at one point.
But I think
he came back.
Yeah, okay. You didn't get there in cash, right?
DT?
Yeah, I was asking if you had him in cash.
Well, ultimately I did because I started off so poorly because I played Alex Smith that I universally switched from Yeldon to Demaryius Thomas because I needed a miracle, so I was just going for the upside.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, your wide receiver is going to have higher upside than your running back. So,
yep. That was another. Alex Smith was left so far behind because it wasn't like we talked about. There was 10 quarterbacks that went nuclear, and he was just terrible. Could not find the end zone. Chris Thompson, he was catching balls at the end there. He was starting to make it up, but Reed was not good. It was just a poor effort against a Colts team that they really should have taken advantage of. Yeah,
I thought they were going to destroy them. That was one of the things I got wrong for sure, which that's a bummer. And then Smith was just kind of, let's not get to. We'll talk about Mahomes. Like Mahomes was an option, you know. The idea of getting up to Big Ben was an option, but I already had Brown and Connor in cash, so I didn't want to totally get screwed if that game died. I don't know. It just didn't really go.
I looked at Matt Ryan for cash, but ultimately it wasn't that close for me. I liked Alex Smith there. It was just play that I got wrong.
Yeah, he projected the best of those guys. You know, the problem with Alex Smith sometimes is that he can not throw the ball downfield at all, and he wasn't really doing that. And then the Colts, you know, did show their defensive line showed up a little bit. It wasn't really even that. I don't know. They just couldn't really seem to get much going. So sometimes that happens. Any other cheaper, like lower owned plays? We were talking about not really getting crushed by the chalk, but what did hurt you as far as like some of the low owned guys that you just didn't get right? Or I mean, Marvin Sanu comes to mind, David Johnson comes to mind, but
yes, Sanu. Not that he was low owned, like, you know, Randall Cobb was a guy used in spots just to. Again, I had a core that I was using, the guys that I loaded up on, and then when that happens, you get funneled to certain price ranges, and you're just like, okay, can I take a guy here that's not going to kill me? Randall Cobb was one of those guys where I was like, I don't think he's making my lineups, but I don't think he's going to break it either. He was not good. You know, Xavier Rhodes, I figured would take away Devontae Adams, and the rest would. I like Jimmy Graham a little. I thought him and Cobb would take the rest of those targets. Amendola got hurt. I had a sliver of him. That did not help. But honestly, it was just, there was really nothing happening outside of my, you know, I stacked the Falcons and Panthers game. And when you look at it, you should think, wow, well, that's great. But I somehow, the 7 touchdowns in that game, I did not get any outside of the quarterbacks. It was very confusing.
Yeah, that was painful. Well, you and I were talking for a second where during that drive to tie it at the end, it was like, wow, we are both stacked a ton of this game that is very live to go to OT, tied at 31. And I'm like drawing so dead already. Like I'm just getting decimated. But
yeah, it was, you know, and it's a string of all these things. Obviously, I had some good pieces. Like Travis Kelce was a really good play. Worked out great. That was the one thing I got right about the Chiefs. If I was going there, he was the guy I went to. And he was great, but once again, he was paired up with some real landmines, and that's the way it goes. So, you know, for me, my first thing is just number one priority anytime I have a bad week is do not let it affect next week. Just it happened. Look at it, see where you made mistakes, see what just kind of didn't work out, and come in and do it again. You get more weeks. That is the nice thing. It's not like it's aggregate where I have to make up ground. But
no, I played around 50% Kenny Golladay, which I thought was a really nice play. I had him in cash. I had way more than 50% actually, because I had him in cash in like 2/3 of my high stakes lineups. Would have been great. Actually, that last catch would have put him over 100 yards too. Not that it mattered. I was done by then because, you know, my Matt Ryan lineups had Julio and Sanu in them and blah, you know, whatever.
Yeah, it was bad. I mean, yeah, by the late games I had, and then I did gen the Cowboys Giants game, and Saquon just broke 50 receptions, 1 yard receptions, which adds up very quickly. That was kind of.
Were you on him?
No, I wasn't in my nosebleed stakes. He was like 90% owned, and I did not have him. So I was like, oh, nice. I think there's a pretty reasonable bust here. And he really they just couldn't get the ball to Odell because they had no time, and Eli is incompetent.
Right. The Cowboys front seven is pretty good, but unfortunately it was like so good that it killed the passing game before it even killed the running game, you know?
It was just, yeah, I mean, but that is supplemental to is what it is. I can't really worry about that. So yeah,
did you see Ray of Hope lost like $190,000 on the last play?
No.
He was winning the like super cheap, the $10 showdown for $200,000, and then that last
unique.
Yeah, unique.
Wow.
And that last Engram touchdown, he had Engram in his lineup.
Non-captain.
4 dudes with Engram as the captain. There were 4 lineup, 4 guys that had the same lineup past him. It's like, wow, that's no fun.
Well, I'm sure he can take that $75 that he made, and now he can move on. But that's got to be.
That guy's made some money playing DFS.
Yeah, he's doing just fine. Super sharp. So,
cool. All right, let's get to the elephant in the room. Is it time, do you think, do we have to take an L on Pat Mahomes? This is more your baby. I didn't like him last week. I don't have much of an opinion on him yet, but you were not a big fan of his in college, right? I never watched him play in college.
It's not even that I'm not a big fan of him. I actually, it's funny you say that. So, May, of course, she loves Patrick Mahomes. It's her favorite football player, and she's not a sports fan. Anyway, I watched him in college. I used to play him in DFS all the time. He was phenomenal. I just didn't think that he would be able to tone down the problems. The upside is not what's shocking me. It's the fact that he is keeping it clean. I would have told you he would have some, not 6 touchdown games, but 4 and 5. Definitely. I'm waiting for the 4 pick games, and that doesn't even look close to happening. So I'll take the L on that. He has been so much more. I'm more impressed by 0 interceptions than 10 touchdowns with him.
Yeah. I think so. My big rationale behind Patrick Mahomes was I don't know much about the guy, but he clearly, looking at some of his combine stuff, he's not particularly fast. People think of him as a runner. He has tiny hands, which let's all remember Rex Grossman. And he does have turnover prone tendencies, I think. So people after 1 week just saying like, this guy is a monster and is there, like, sure, he's going to have some big, I'm with you. I think he's going to have some giant weeks. I think there is potential for really bad weeks. I still think there is. Basically last week, the Pittsburgh defense is not particularly good, but it is particularly gimmicky. Like, it's a zone. They do a lot of blitzes. So if you don't know what's coming, I thought it had a lot of potential to confuse a big decision-making, young quarterback. And I think that kind of defense does have that. He read it really well. So kudos to him. That was an amazing performance. It was a little tilting because he kind of Kamared it at first, where it's like, all right, he's got like 11 pass attempts and 3 touchdowns. 4 touchdowns. Yeah.
No, I'm with you there. I see that aspect of it, and I'm not flipping where this guy, he's not who I think he is. I'm going to continue to say that. But obviously, I'm going to have to recognize that he's seeing it more. There's no early struggles. Clearly, he's figured some stuff out already, and we'll see how it progresses. They're going to play different teams. He's going to, come on, let's, I'll go to the golf since we do talk a lot of golf. I remember when John Rahm was, he's just never going to struggle. He comes in top 5 every week, and then he struggled. It happens.
Yeah.
So we'll see.
Tom Brady struggled yesterday, dude. Tom Brady and Gronk didn't get it done yesterday. So I don't think that like freaking Pat Mahomes and Tyreek Hill are going to get it done every week. That's this upcoming week, man. God damn it. They're playing at home against San Francisco.
The Niners, yeah.
Stop anyone. Tyreek Hill's like $8,500. I think Pat Mahomes is a cash play at $7,000. And we'll see. We'll see. It's the pricing looks really. I obviously have not been building because it's Monday morning, but I did look at the pricing, 20 minutes before we started, and it's like, wow, there are not really a lot of obvious soft spots yet. We'll see what happens when I get the projections out, but it's going to be.
True. I was just going to jump in real quick. We did have someone in the chat roll out. This is a good point. A lot of people think Mahomes is a rookie. He's not. Sitting maybe did alleviate some of these tendencies. Obviously, he's a little more mature, even though he's really young. Seeing it, Alex Smith, and he looks better for having not been thrown into the fire.
Yeah, that's true. Alex Smith is about as good of a granddad to watch over you as I don't know. Just kidding. Speaking of that, the chat, I switched to a new laptop today, and I don't have the chat login right now. So if you could help me with that, normally I would be a little better at that. So apologies if anyone is trying to get in here. We'll get Ben to mention this stuff.
Yeah, I sent it to you if you need it, but
I know I have to log in. I don't know.
Oh, gotcha. All right. Yeah, I'll keep on top of it. Anywho, Yeah, it was. So we'll see. Just got to shake all that off. But Mahomes has been very impressive. I will leave it at that.
It's been nuts, absolutely. And then home for San Francisco this week against a. Here's the other thing. Remember when Jimmy G was awesome? That guy looks horrible through
terrible.
Games. He's played really, really bad. So that's
changes fast in the NFL.
It does. It absolutely does. Blake Bortles, top 5 player. I mean, he scored top 5 highest fantasy points yesterday.
Yeah, I mean, Mahomes is going to break the touchdown record. So
yeah, take that. I hope he does. I hate Peyton Manning. All right. All right, we got. Do you want to talk showdown tonight?
Sure, we could do that. Do you want to talk college football first? Do you want to talk? Do we even need to do that?
Yeah, we can talk college football. Let's talk about Cam Martin.
Get my ego back up. Yeah, Cam Martin, that was real good. Yeah, we'll talk real quick college football, then we'll go showdown. College football was good. Really solid week. I just dodged the bullets that was the Syracuse game, not because I thought it was going to be low scoring. I just went in a different direction, paired up Hawaii, which was good. You watched that game, which is hilarious because I know you're not a huge college football guy.
It's like the most of a college football game I've watched in my entire life.
And you picked a gem to watch those two.
My team was, I had a great team too. It just didn't quite get there, but it made money, but I was looking like I was very live to
do some things.
Yeah.
Yeah, everything was good. Hollywood Brown on Oklahoma is just Malcolm. Guy's unbelievable. He catches many touchdowns. He's super fast. Him and Kyler Murray have some things working. So what happened, and we're in the same boat on this, was the Auburn running back Cam Martin was, he had 22 carries against Washington, who's a top 10 defense in my opinion. Didn't really play in the second game because they didn't need him. They won by like 70. He got out there, and early in the game, he dropped the screen pass, and he got the quick hook. They went to a running back guy committee, and he did not see the field. So that was a real killer. Didn't affect me in some small field stuff, which was very, very nice, but prevented me from possibly both of us from being there in the end in some of the larger field tourneys.
Yeah, I was like in 5th or 6th place going into that game in the $180 tournament with Cam Martin, who was like 1% owned left going.
It was like you and me who had him. That was it.
It's like, this could be pretty awesome. And it was not.
No, it was, hey, thank God that was a good, because what I lost in NFL would have been canceled out by college football and the baseball Bizarro story. So that helped.
Oh, yeah. That's what we need to talk about, buddy. What are your top stacks for tonight now that you're a baseball guru?
Yeah, that's it. Just you stack up Odorizzi's Rays. Wait a minute. No, I'm baseball. I don't know how you people do it. More power to you if you're grinding that every day.
It's the worst sweat too, is the problem with baseball. It's like not fun to. It's not fun to watch. It's not fun to watch because it's super boring. And then like when your guys are up, like it's almost, they're failing all the time. Like it's almost always bad. And then but because there's so many other at bats happening out there, as the law of averages works out, like eventually like the home run that kills you is out there. Someone has it, like there's home runs often, just not often from your guys.
Yeah, it was terrible. But that's, like I said, we do try to keep some general things for DFS that's not slate by slate on this show. And I think it's important to kind of conceptually make sure that you're not bleeding into other slates. Like I had a really good start to this week, it's a small sample size, of course, but I was up a bunch and then I gave up basically all of it back with NFL. Super frustrating, but I try to look at that says, wow, I had an absolute blow up slate and the account is where it was. So that kind of does feel kind of nice. Fresh start. We have 15 more, there's a million more weeks of NFL. It feels like it's been here for months already.
Yeah. You get the tour championship to win some of it back this weekend.
A 30-man. How hard is that? Should be easy.
Listen, I know he kind of won 2 tournaments like a year ago.
Patton
Kazire is still playing. Like, what the that's so wrong.
Imagine if he wins the tour, wins the players, wins the FedEx. I think it's impossible. he would need the actual standings to come in perfectly reverse order for him to win, I think. Like, it would just be but yeah, we'll be talking a little of that tomorrow for sure.
Some funny price. I mean, Paul Casey's 6,800. I noticed that.
Yeah, you'll never see some of those prices again.
He's the last 6 weeks of his game is like the worst we've ever seen him play since I've been following golf, but it's still 6,800 is hard to turn down. Anywho, showdown tonight.
Yeah, we did have our man behind the glass just ask that we spared Dan. Rutgers lost by like 40 to Kansas, which is almost unforgivable. We did not bring them up during the college football portion, but I am now. Sorry, Dan.
That's disappointing. I will say, as much as I'd like to make fun of, it does sort of bum me out because like all those guys are future Patriots. Want my team to be
McCourty and the gang.
Yeah, sounds like they're going to be terrible. So that does not bode well for the future of the Patriots.
It's real bad. All right, here we go. Let's talk a little showdown. What do you say?
This is a bad one for showdown, I think. But there's like two different scripts you can kind of see it following, and I think that's where you got to go. So it's better than the Thursday game, which is the most Thursday of all Thursdays.
I can't wait for that. My two favorite teams.
Oh my God, it's true. It is true. Your two favorite teams, Jets, Browns, baby. It's like we've had two because the Bengals Ravens is like super classic Thursday bullshit too. Like they're not disappointing early with the absolute trash Thursday games.
Yeah, it's been bad. This is an interesting game. Not even talking about the slate, just not
real football.
Yeah, real football. Like two teams. I'm not sure. I think that they certainly could be in the conversation to be pretty good, and they also could be pretty ugly teams. I think Seattle in particular has a floor that's lower than most. I think there's a chance they're really bad this year.
Yeah, it's tough because we've got a team like the Bears have pretty much everything but the quarterback, and then Seattle's got the quarterback and not a whole lot else. So yeah, it's gonna be weird. I think there's kind of two distinct ways this could go, and sort of two distinct scripts you play for showdown. But do you have early thoughts on how this game might happen?
Well, it seems like, and we saw this last year and later in the year, I think it was for mostly being worn down by doing this. Russell Wilson can still produce great. He just can't be efficient. He's just got to take so much on. Kind of reminds me, a different sport, of course, but there was a couple of years where LeBron was just like, I have to shoot 45 times here. It's going to wildly bring down my efficiency, but that's the best chance we have. And we saw it last week. He threw a couple picks. He was throwing he's doing it all. So from an obvious standpoint, I think he's the natural captain here, regardless of what happens. But the key for me is, what do you think of I think the Bears defense is a pretty important piece, and that's kind of where I'm struggling.
Yeah, I think they're going to get to Russ, no problem. But Russ is the best guy in the league at getting out of that. He makes a lot of plays. The problem too, I think, for Russ, is that even if he gets out of it, like there aren't a lot of I don't know, the Bears like are going to be able to get a pass rush just because Mac has totally changed that, and then they have such a bad, the Seahawks have a really bad offensive line. That's nothing new. But the Bears are another of those teams that they don't allow a ton of like super big plays because they're sagging back pretty far. They do a lot of the bend don't break. They do a lot of zone. They do a lot of too deep safety looks. So Russ's hero ball plays where he scrambles around for 5-6 seconds and then hits Doug Baldwin 70 yards down the field, which is is Baldwin even back for this game?
Oh, no, he's hurt for a while.
Okay.
So Tyler Lockett would be the guy, I think.
And he's super fast, but it's really hard when the whole defense's game plan is just to back off of that. So
yeah, then you got
it's the Tyreek Hill, it's that Tyreek Hill thing. And Tyreek Hill, that's what Pittsburgh plays. They're even gimmickier, but Tyreek Hill couldn't get loose where he's just beating one guy in a foot race. That he didn't have those opportunities. Yeah. So I don't think the Seahawks receivers are going to have that either.
I mean, if you go besides him, you've got the ghost of Brandon Marshall is there. Jerron Brown,
And the ghost of Brandon Marshall is the kind of receiver to beat the crap out of the Bears, but he might be.
Yeah.
I don't hate the Bears defense either. I think they make a reasonable captain's. I actually think you could play Bears defense as captain with Russ Wilson, hoping that he's just, launching the ball and puts up his, 220 yards passing with a touchdown or two and gets 60 on the ground with Bears defense captain and lean heavily on the Bears running game. I don't think Mitch Trubisky is good enough to carve up anybody. I was willing to try it last, and maybe, who knows, maybe one game isn't enough, but he did not show me anything his rookie year. I was kind of cautiously optimistic just because the Packers beating the crap out of the Bears was the obvious narrative, should have been, and it's football, so who knows. And on the showdown last week, which feels like a month ago now, just because there's so many slates now. But I was pretty heavy on the Bears, and it looked good for a while. They have that new offense. It's taking a lot of pressure off of Trubisky. He doesn't have to make a lot of crazy throws, but my God, he just missed easy open throws over and over again. And I don't like to see that because he also doesn't have he's also not making the crazy downfield throws. So it's not like Cam Newton where you see him miss frustrating throws, but he can make up for it.
The thing for me with him, it's not even that I think he doesn't have the potential to be good. It's just the window where he gets there is so, because if they're winning, I don't think it's because he's carving up the Seahawks. I think it's because their defense is giving him short fields. Howard is doing most of the damage. So you don't want him there. If they're getting crushed and he's throwing a bunch, somebody, most likely it's Russell Wilson, is already there. So I don't know exactly where Trubisky comes into play. Definitely not for a captain for me. It's one game, of course. Could he be an effective piece? Maybe, but I think I'm more prone to doing it the way you described and trying to find maybe an off-the-wall Seahawk, whether it's not that Carson's going to be off the wall, but maybe a receiver that's down the depth chart that maybe sees a couple extra routes because Baldwin's not there.
Yeah. Who's the Mark Andrews on the Seahawks,
So they have and I'm not probably going to touch this guy. They had a tight end who had 20-something points last week who I've never heard of.
It wasn't Bennett. It was Dipsy or Dipsy.
Yeah, Will Drisick or something. I think that's more of an anomaly than anything.
I think so too.
Yeah, not breaking any news there. So
maybe Vanette becomes more, if people are on Dipset instead. I kind of think it's a good idea potentially to play both Bears running backs because they're very independent skill set wise, and even if they're nickel and diming, I just don't think I think a lot of people, for good reason, don't like to play running backs together. But those guys they're not stepping on each other's toes much. I think there's a script where if the Bears are winning, they're getting pressure on Russ. You're playing the Bears defense. Howard's carving them up, and then when they need passes, it's a lot of checkdowns to Tariq Cohen, who is pretty sick in space.
Super explosive. It is worth noting that Jordan Howard had a lot more work in the passing game than we've seen. So maybe long term, Cohen still gets his, but I was kind of surprised to see some of the Tariq Cohen plays go to Howard in the first game.
Yeah. Tariq did get some of his plays too, though, and he's I think he returns punts or kicks too, so that's potentially whatever. I think that's why people were playing. To be perfectly honest, I'm pretty sure that's why people were playing Miles Austin last night because most of the teams I saw with Miles Austin had the Cowboys defense in the captain spot.
Yeah, and then he gets.
I said Miles Austin. What?
Tavon, but
Tavon Austin. Miles Austin was awesome for a little while.
Yeah, for a little while. He had his moment.
A-Rod looking dude.
Yeah, I mean, last night that was a stupid game. Everyone in New York is very grumpy over the Giants. But what are you going to do?
How do you know? Have you been outside?
I did go outside. I played tennis this morning.
Oh, wow. Good for you.
Yeah. It was.
Got the U.S. Open fever?
Yeah, you know me, just making my return to the court. But anyway, all right. I think we covered some showdown there. I mean, there's not much to say. We say this every Monday and every Thursday. Showdown's fun. I really like it. It's a chance to get in there, be unique. Don't grind Showdown. If you had a good week or you feel like taking a couple of shots, do it. But this is not a situation where I would not recommend allocating important bankroll to a one gamer like this.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. It's
tempting, even because like I got smoked yesterday. So like the allure is like, well, if I just dump, a large sum of money into this, I can, but that is not what you want to do. Think of it long-term. Always go long-term.
Yeah. You are probably going to lose money on Showdown, but every once in a while you have the potential to go kind of nuts.
Fun to gamble.
Yes, exactly. It's a willingness to gamble. And it's fun because it's very similar. Golf Showdown is like this too. Like weekend golf is like this, where it's all about, you can find like crazy, crazy low on plays and just, you're kind of hoping for something wacky, but there are differentiators. And you can really use that because it's like so many guys, like last night, Saquon Barkley was 65, 70% owned, even in the like $10 one. So
90% up to him.
Yeah.
The only idiot who didn't have him, this guy.
Yeah, it was just, that day was just like that. Freaking Keelan Cole, man, like I'm so pissed. I entered that afternoon slate. I'm so pissed at myself that I didn't play any of him. That guy is the most classic. We were going to do back at FanVice, we were looking into doing some best ball content. And I remember studying a lot of, realizing like, oh, well, you've got all these guys on your bet. I've never really played best ball. I don't have my, not 180 teams in like most touts. But I
combined here, this is your road teams.
I have one on Play Draft. I wonder how it's doing. I haven't looked yet. But Keelan Cole was someone I thought was a really nice target because you have all these, you're going to have like 8-9 wide receivers and you're picking the best 3 every week. So it's like you want just crazy psycho dudes to try and have like the monster big games. Keelan Cole had one of the largest standard deviations of anyone in points per game last year, and including like when he was actually playing. So I was really he is very much a Tyreek Hill type, and I always talk about those dudes as like you play the shit out of them when they're not owned, and you don't play them when they're high owned. And that didn't really. I should have played some. By that logic, I definitely should have played some Keelan Cole last week. The problem is like week 1, I was just like I don't really like him, and then I kind of was like, oh, we got out of it, no problem, and then just kind of kept thinking that. So
I had some DD. He caught a long touchdown, which was helpful, but that the ship had sailed and went down in a Titanic-like fashion before that game was even on. So
yeah, Bortles went nuts and was the 6th highest scoring quarterback,
something like that.
It was pretty wild. Oh, he was 4th.
Oh, he got up. Yeah, he just kept going. I probably misjudged how good he played because I didn't see it at the end there.
It was, the Patriots looked bad. Whatever. It was, I hate yesterday. Want to talk we can poll?
What's up?
I was going to say we got a poll. The poll.
I was actually going to allude to the poll I was going to just briefly mention that yesterday was a rough one for kickers. The Browns, I don't know if you saw how that happened, but that was incredibly bad. It's weird. And then the Vikings, I felt bad for both those guys. The Browns one was way worse, but they had drafted Zane Gonzalez, and he was like the best kicker in the country 2 years ago. He went to Arizona State. They drafted him in the 7th round, and now he's gone. And somehow Dan Bailey just doesn't have a job, which is kind of confusing.
Was he trying to get a lot of money?
I think it was something like that.
Yeah. He was. Bailey was really good for a long time.
Super good. Yeah.
Yeah.
He's not just Justin Tucker is like way out there for how good he is. It's like I don't think people realize how good Justin Tucker really is.
Yeah. I mean, he's the best ever, right? As far as just like pure, Vinatieri's like the Tom Brady or whatever.
I was just going to say that.
Kobe Bryant kind of, he's been really good for a long time, but never was the best. Never has really been the best.
Well, chat, just thank you, Mike. Just inform me Dan Bailey just signed with the Vikings. So whoever, I think his name was Carlson, who was kicking yesterday. Sorry, him and Blair Walsh can start a former Vikings kicker band. But
even like Mason Crosby, like he was like 5 for 5, and then he missed the one that would have won it. He hit it, but the Vikings would call timeout. Classic ice move.
Yeah, smart. The math doesn't even. That's the worst. Do you want to talk about so it is Monday, and if you guys haven't seen the show before, what we do on Mondays is we propose a poll question, and we're going to put it up on Twitter. We want everyone to vote, discuss, talk about it. And then on Friday's show, we're going to weigh in and give our thoughts. It's going to be some DFS stuff, some sports stuff, some really odd, random stuff. We're going to just try to keep it fun and make it a weekly segment. So do you want to talk about what we're doing this week?
Yeah, sure. This is another sort of classic, I don't think you're a stoner, but you have a lot of stonery sort of questions.
Fair.
But this is one that was discussed a little bit in our when we had our meetup with FanVice in Southern California last winter. But this, I think, is a good one when we're here with kickers. We're also going to do this on my Twitter account this time, and I have like half the followers Ben does. So I'm going to need your help, guys. Gonna need some help out there to get our votes in. But this one is basically, if you have a kicker that is 50% strong, has 50% more distance than your average kicker, meaning he kicks 75-yarders like the average guy kicks a 50-yarder. He kicks, a 37.5-yarder, 40-yarder is a 25-yarder for him. It's just a chip shot, Is that guy worth the number one overall pick? So this is a person that can hit a 75-yard field goal like a normal person hits a 50-yard field goal.
Mm-hmm. Yep. So would you draft a kicker if you had the first overall pick in the draft, and there was this guy in college who basically kicks, take the field goal, exactly what you just said. A 60-yarder is a normal kicker's 40-yarder. Would you?
He could maybe kick a 100-yard field goal in Denver because that's a 67-yarder.
Yeah, but we'll talk about how dangerous that notion would be to try that. But so yeah, that is the poll question.
You can do that. Well, what yard what is it? 17 yards? No, because you'd be on you'd be on the 13, right?
Yeah, that would be, if you missed, you would have some issues.
I'm just saying there's room for him to actually get the kickoff. Like hunting from the one, like how that gets super sketchy.
Oh yeah, I know what you're saying. But so yeah, that is the question we want to hear. And then on Friday, we will delve into what we think about it. It should be fun.
We will. Absolutely.
I did have one more thing. I just, for people watching, a lot of times we do bounce around and people don't know. I was thinking we just briefly touch upon what we want to do this week. So tomorrow, we'll talk some what happened with Showdown. It's going to be mostly golf featured. That's what we try to do on Tuesdays. Wednesday's the day that's, I think, most open for us. So we'll see what comes up. We may do some general DFS stuff. We're going to kind of leave that one open each week to see just different topics, different news that may come up. We're going to start talking some NBA. Preseason's only a couple weeks away now, which is pretty crazy. Thursday, the 2:30 time slot is moved to 7. We bring in the third fella, lead you right up to Showdown. That's obviously an awesome one. 3 fellas talking football. And then Friday's back to we're going to be talking NFL and college football. So if any of those seem appealing, stop back. I know 2:30 is kind of a weird time slot, but that is what we got on the docket.
It's true. And usually we will not be doing that this week because it's a 30-man field, but usually we do a Wednesday night golf show sort of pre-locked to give our final takes on that, what we think you should really be what we think you should be attacking, or it's like what we're attacking, basically.
Yeah, that too.
Which we'll see how in depth we get on that as the seasons continue, because this is always a free show, so we will see. But yeah, I think we will. Wednesdays will definitely be a lot more NBA coming up. I don't think we're going to get into that this week. Don't think we're there yet. Still getting into the start of football, but maybe next week we'll start doing half an hour every Wednesday or so on starting to break down the NBA teams, because
it's here.
Trying to get excited. Yeah, we're almost here.
Yeah, no, it's going to be good. Obviously, we got Fast Eddie in the lab grinding away. Preseason, there is an edge there. If you put in the work, there certainly is an edge, because it's all like reading Twitter, just knowing who's playing and whatnot.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, it's all about reading. Same with preseason NFL. It's college football's like that too, where
That's
it's more
why
about,
I like it a lot.
Yeah, more about reading than. That's why I'm terrible. I mean, it's really just how we allocate our time. You spend a lot of time reading Twitter and reading up on things, and I spend most of my time with my face in a spreadsheet trying to make something more efficient. So I'm just kind of combing data where you're reading a lot more. And so that's like that lends to us having sort of different specialties when it comes to this stuff.
Yeah, 30-man. The chat is talking about the 30-man golf. I know it's tough. That's a tough one to break down. We'll do our best. I did go on Pat Mayo's show talking about it. It's tough to break down. It's 29 guys and Pat and Kazire. That's really how I'm summing up the
Yeah, exactly. That's a really good way to put it. The only person worth like absolutely just crossing off the list is Pat and Kazire.
It's unbelievable when you look at this field how big of a talent gap there is between 29 and 30. Like, and no disrespect to him, more power to him for making it this far, but it is unreal how he's just in his own, like where he falls in the world golf is not with any of the other 29.
Yeah, like Mark Leishman's like $100 more than him or something like that. It's hysterical.
Insane.
Okay. Well, that'll just about do it for today. Dan, thank you for filling in for us again with producing. That's very helpful. Josh is safe. He's fine. His house is okay, but his city is messed up. So we'll get updates from him. You've seen him out there grinding from the hotel rooms, but it should be good. And we will talk to you all tomorrow.